Good morning, everyone. Pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 85 of the New York City Charter, a meeting of the Bronx Borough Board will take place this Monday, March 11th, starting at 10:10, being held at 198 East 161st Street, third floor conference room. And just as a reminder to everyone, this is currently being live streamed via BronxNet. Happy Monday. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We will begin with roll call, starting off with Community Board 1.
Delorny Namor, standing in for Clarissa Aedo.
Community Board 2.
Larry Robinson, subbing for Chairman Bob Crespo.
Community Board 3. Community Board 4. Community Board 5. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Community Board 6. Community Board 7.
Edgar Ramos, sitting in for Zahara Arias, the chair.
How are you? Community Board 8.
Margaret Della, sitting in for Julie Reyes.
Good morning. Community Board 9. Community Board 10. Community Board 11. And Community Board 12. Wonderful. Moving on to City Council member and representatives. District 8, CM Diana Ayala.
Good morning, Stephanie Vera, representing Councilmember Diana Ayala.
How are you, Stephanie? District 11, Councilmember Eric Dinowitz.
Good morning, Stephanie Rodriguez, representing Councilmember Eric.
District 12, Councilmember Kevin Riley. District 13, Councilmember Christy Mamorato.
Good morning, April Cardona, representing Councilmember Mamorato.
Thank you. District 14, Councilmember Pirina Sanchez.
Samantha Garzanas, proxy for Councilmember Sanchez.
District 15, Councilmember Oswald Feliz.
Good morning, Esperanza Diaz, representing Councilmember Feliz.
District 16, Councilmember Althea Stevens. District 17, Councilmember Rafael Salamanca.
Good morning, Saranya Jagadish, representing Councilmember Salamanca.
Good morning. District 18, Councilmember Amanda Farias.
Good morning, Rebecca Nieves, representing Councilmember Farias.
Good to see you. And at this moment, any city agency, I see a representative from our Public Advocate's Office. Any others? Wonderful. Well, we have very important business this morning. Today we have a presentation by one of our partners, the Bronx Health Link, and then we'll be voting on the Bronx Borough Board Budget Priorities Report for fiscal year 2025. And with that, once again, I want to thank everyone for being here this morning. For the first item on the agenda, I want to welcome Dr. Shirley Leyro, our Administrative Director of the Bronx Health Link. The Bronx Health Link is a Bronx-based organization, and it's a public health organization that works towards improving birth outcomes. Our office, the Bronx Borough President's Office, has worked on several initiatives in support of maternal health, and the Bronx Health Link has been an instrumental partner throughout. So without further ado, Dr. Leyro, welcome this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. A little nervous, and I am Puerto Rican, so when I get nervous, I start talking really, really quick, and then I don't even notice it. So if I am talking really quick, you'll tell me to slow down, please. Thank you. So it's a real pleasure. This is a full circle moment. My very first apartment many, many years ago, another millennium ago, was right down the street, 910 Sheridan Avenue. And now here I am speaking on behalf of an organization that is right down the street before all of these esteemed folks. So I'm just really humbled. It's really surreal to be here. On with the presentation, yes? So as our esteemed Deputy Borough President Janet Peguero, who, by the way, I am really very just really honored that you made this happen. Thank you so much. It was created by the Bronx Borough President at the time in 1998, so we've been around for a while, and it was created by the Borough President along with some partner hospitals to address the health disparities that we all know exist in the Bronx. And here we are almost 26 years later, and we are still battling these health disparities. And just to give you, I'm gonna fly a little fast through the presentation. Everyone has access to this. I can email it, but also it's Marisol has it as well. Because what I want to do is I want to speak on the presentation, and then I'd like to have plenty of time for questions in case you have any for me. But just to give you an overview of our team, we are a small but super mighty organization. The core group is just 4 or 5 of us. Myself, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I grew up in the Casejo projects. Shout out Amanda Farias. And and I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary 2 months ago at this organization. We have our my co-director, clinical director, Anastasia Lipovich. She is a practicing midwife and a trained doula, and she works at Urban Health Plan. And she's in charge of our largest project to date, which is the Bronx Doula Access Project. I'll say more about that project later. We have our perinatal health educators. We have some workshops that we give, and I'll speak more about that later. And then we have my right hand, who is Eloquina. She has about 4 years at the organization, and she's been really great in helping me acclimate and to the new job. And we have a digital marketing coordinator. We do some social media outreach. We also have marketing materials. We try to do a lot of community outreach. That's something that we started when I began at the organization, and she prepares our materials. So one of the things that we want to do at the Bronx Health Link is, in addition to address the health disparities, right? In the Bronx is, where do you start, right? With every single society, it is the family, right? That is the primary group in every single society and culture. And it starts with maternal health. So our focus is on maternal health. And I know this looks really wonky with the data, and you can read it, and I have the sources, but it's just to show you that what we're using the definition of maternal mortality. In the past, it used to be the period of time 6 weeks after a person gave birth. And now what we're doing is we use the more contemporary definition, which is a whole year after birth. And so we look at the health outcomes, and we try to address maternal mortality and morbidity during this time period. And it doesn't end there, right? So one of the things we're trying to do at the Bronx Health Link is have continual connections with the people we help. So from birth through childhood and then later, right? Because it really does take a village, and we want to be part of that village. The leading causes of death in maternal morbidity, it really depends on the groups, but among Black women, and we know that a huge portion of the population of the Bronx are Black and brown women. It's heart conditions. And for Latina women, the #1 cause would be mental health, PMADs, which is perinatal mood anxiety disorders. And so those are the top 2 reasons for maternal morbidity and mortality, and that's what we're trying to pinpoint with our services. I'll speak more to those in a second. And again, let's see, I'm trying to get the laser pointer. Did I get it? Oh, there it is. So I wanted to give you, how do I go back? So I'm afraid to use this laser pointer. Yeah, here it is. Sorry. It's like last night there was a bunch of flubs in the Oscars. Mine are today. So I just wanted to highlight the numbers in the Bronx, right? They're super high when we talk about maternal morbidity, and that's what we really want to zero in on with a lot of our programming. So at the Bronx Health Link, part of our mission is to address the health outcomes from a research perspective, from an outreach perspective, from an advocacy perspective, but also programming. So a lot of our programming seeks to educate our Bronx birthing persons on their health, but also we also try to do a lot of advocacy on behalf of those. And I'd like to speak a little bit about those programs in a second. So the first program is the Bronx Doula Access Program. And that is a collaboration between the Bronx Health Link and Bronx-based doula collectives that provide twofold services. One part is full spectrum doula birthing services, in addition postpartum services. by doulas who are Bronx-based for our Bronx birthing persons. And then we have another component where we are actually in the hospital, in the institution once a week, and we are doing the ground rounds. We are meeting with residents and other practitioners in the maternity ward. We also provide maternal education for the folks who are there in the maternity ward. And if someone needs birthing help, then the doulas are there to assist in the birthing process as well. And so I'm really excited about that component because that's the one we really want to escalate. We have that at Lincoln Hospital at the moment every Wednesday. We work with the organization Bronx Rebirth, and we already have Bronx Care on board to try to expand that program there. We also are speaking with St. Barnabas Hospital. We also have connections with North Central Bronx. These are the 4 hospitals where we have most of our doula birthing services operating. But what we'd really like to do, right, is have it all across the Bronx. And of course, you know, this is, I know this seems like a little sucking up, but I really have to, I put this picture up here because my first year has been super busy, super productive, and it couldn't have happened without Vanessa Gibson's help, our borough president, in addition to Janet Peguero. So the other thing, so one of the things I do want to say is I'm also a full-time professor at CUNY. One of my research looks at mental health. My specialization is actually immigration, and I look at the impact that deportability has on the lives of immigrants. But mental health overall is really special to me. And one of the things I'd love to address is, as I mentioned before, the #1 cause of maternal mortality among Latinas is mental health. And it's the second cause of Black women with maternal mortality. And so I'd really like to escalate and help with these mental health services. So we developed last May the Parenting Support Group. And parents are not just moms, it's also fathers, right? And so we have these groups of support. We don't provide actual clinical counseling, right? Because we need to get our folks there. There's a lot of stigma still attached to seeking professional mental health help. And so what we do is we have these support groups where people get to share. We don't have couples go because if you want to complain about your partner, you're not going to feel open to do it, right? So we have separate cohorts that meet once or twice a month. We're trying to escalate it to have more every month. And they just get to share. And it also foments a sense of camaraderie and fellowshipping. Some of the reasons why our recent birthing persons express mental health distress, right, is the isolation that they sometimes feel after giving birth. And so providing them a space where they get to meet other people in very similar conditions or circumstances, and they get to share their experiences, this has really been very helpful. And I will tell you that we did have one occasion where one of our moms shared a very personal situation, and, you know, she got very emotional. And the other moms just, you know, like got together and they all hugged her. And it was like really beautiful to see because that's what we want, right? We want that. And they provided emotional support beyond the group that meets once or twice a month. And so we're really proud of this parenting support group. This is the flyer that we take with us whenever we go to the community events. And that's like a brand new program and one we'd like to escalate as well, or scale. The other programming are our workshops. So we give workshops on breastfeeding. The Bronx has the lowest rates of breastfeeding in the entire city, and you know, depending on the year you're collecting the data or the time, it could be in the state. So very low numbers of breastfeeding, and some of that is due to a myth, right? I was raised believing that if you breastfeed a child, you're starving them, that you know, you don't produce enough milk to properly provide nutrition for your child, and that's actually a myth. It's not true, and it is something you learn in these workshops. You also learn how to latch the baby, because sometimes what happens is you're in the hospital, you try to breastfeed, but the baby doesn't latch right away, and then you give up because you think there's something wrong, or maybe the baby doesn't want to take the breast, but that's not necessarily true, right? With the proper support, more than 95% of birthing persons can actually provide adequate nutrition by breastfeeding their children. And that's one of the workshops we have. We also have a self-care workshop and a maternal depression workshop. Those two are, again, focused on the mental health aspect of what happens after giving birth. We have safe sleep workshops. We had an experience with one of our participants whose child passed away from SIDS. And, you know, this is still a thing, right? Babies are still not being put to sleep in the most appropriate way, like the proper way, and unfortunately these things happen. And so we do have a workshop on safe sleep. And then we have a baby wearing workshop, which is not just carrying the baby bajorn, right? It can also be the wrap. It's also how to wrap your baby, how to carry them properly so that they you can still carry them while they're asleep, how to do it safely so that your posture, right, doesn't get impacted. And also, how do you wrap your baby so that you can also form that bond, right? And all of this contributes to the mental health of both, right, baby and child, baby and mom. And if I'm going too quick, you can tell me to slow down. I just want to get it all in because I'd love to take questions. The other thing that we do is a lot of community outreach. And this is something that we started also under my tenure. This was one of the first events that we actually organized with the Bronx Borough President's Office. It was the Day of Action. It was last year. And it was really great. And what we do at these community events, besides have information about the workshops and the other programs that we have, is that we do giveaways. And sometimes when you go to these events, the parents who go are in need. And so we have Pampers and, we have items such as wipes. We have crebettes that we give away, baby carriers, breast pumps, diaper bags, and other things too. We also have like pens, but really, for the families that attend, we try to provide them the essentials, the basic needs. And we also give away information. So one of the things we want to do with the Bronx Health Link is we want to be the link. So we don't have to provide every single service. We also have collaborations with other organizations so that if someone comes to us and they need furniture maybe, or maybe they need formula, or maybe they need a referral for a mental health service, right? We have collaborations and actually agreements with other organizations where we can refer them. We're also part of the Family Connection Network from the city so that we can refer them into the city services because, the city has a lot of services as well. And so we try to foment that connection. We want to remain that link, right? And that's really one of the original purposes of the Bronx Health Link, and we want to stay true to that and bring it back to that. A lot of community. This was Health Week and Health Day was my first event with the Bronx Borough President's Office. We had a really good time and we gave a lot of information out. Community baby showers. I had no idea these things existed, but has anybody been to a baby shower? Just a regular baby shower. There's the chair, there's the balloons, there's a DJ, there's food. So imagine a baby shower that you've been to like for a family member. This is like on 100. It is. We've gone to several NYPD and NYCHA sponsored baby showers. They're really big and they have so many families in need. It's a really big party. And it's just a lot of fun to see not just the people enjoy the event, but also it's really cool to see all of the different tables and different agencies and organizations that have this purpose of serving the community. This is more. And we're part of the Birth Justice Defenders program. So the DOH has this initiative called the Birth Justice Defenders, and we're the Bronx hub of the Birth Justice Defenders. And what we do is twofold. Behind the scenes, we are forming collaborations with hospitals and other community stakeholders to address the maternal morbidity and mortality situation that exists within the hospitals, right? And so we are forming and it's a long word, I didn't come up with it, it's by the city, DOH, it's the Community Hospital Birth Equity Working Group. And we are communicating with different hospitals, doulas, other community organizations and stakeholders to address the fact that when a birthing person, particularly a Black or brown woman or birthing person goes into the hospital, they're not necessarily treated well, their needs aren't addressed, they're told maybe they're being hysterical, and there are rights. Right, the New York State passed the Respectful Standards of Care at Birth, and we try to educate the community by recruiting ambassadors. And ambassadors are just regular old people from the community who pledge to be birth justice defenders to get the word out to all of the folks in their neighborhoods about what the respectful standards of care at birth. And part of that is informed consent. So you see one of those. Sometimes a person is told that they need a particular procedure, and why they need that procedure is not necessarily expressed, and this person agrees to a procedure, it's not necessarily an informed consent, right? And so one of the things we want to let people know is when you agree to any procedure, particularly if you're a birthing person and maybe you're told you need a C-section perhaps, we want to make sure that when they agree to these procedures, it's informed. They know what the consequences are, including the risks, right? And so you're told you need the C-section so that you or the baby could survive, but you should also be told what the risks are as well. And so that's part of an education campaign that the DOH has, and we're collaborating with them as well. We had a movie night in May where we screened the film Birthing Justice, and it was held at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. And we all know what happened at Albert Einstein with that fabulous donation. And so now every student gets free education, right? And so we work with Albert Einstein, and they got us a space, and we had a really good time. It was super educational. The documentary was very impactful. And what do we want in the future? The other thing that we have, sorry, I do this all the time. I'm one of those people now that I can't remember how to use technology. The one thing I wanted to do with this slide is we have a robust, one of the things that we also have is an internship program. And so we have collaborations with Ostos Community College, Lehman College, and we have some folks from John Jay College, and I'm also speaking with Fordham to also have interns from there. We currently have 8 interns this semester because it goes by semester. And one of the things we do, the Ostos Community College are majors in community health. The Lehman College students are majors in health administration. And what they help us get the word out, right, with a lot of the community outreach that we do. And then it also educates them on the different programming that we give, but also what's out there. Because that's what their major is, right? And it's really helpful for them to know what the landscape looks like in the Bronx, where they live, and hopefully where they're gonna serve. And I do wanna say that when I spoke with the person at Fordham, I gave a presentation at Fordham, and one of the things I asked, I was like, who's the borough president, right? Nobody knew. And where's this? Like, Fordham is a campus that's kind of isolated in its location, right? It's a gorgeous campus, but you don't necessarily have to leave the campus, even though you're like within one of the sections that has extremely high health disparities. And so one of the things we want to encourage is to get them out, right? And so with the internship program, we want to encourage students from all of these different campuses to be out in the community and serve the community, right? Like you live in the Bronx, and you should also be part of the Bronx, right? That's one of our missions. And so for the future, one of the things we'd like to do is expand our programming in terms of mental health. We'd love to be able to reach out into different hospitals, and so that doula program that we have that's in the institution, forming relationships and familiarity with the doulas, so that when they're at the maternity ward, people who are giving birth can have that relationship. We'd love to be able to scale that out. Another thing we'd like to do is there's only one milk bank in the entire state. We'd love to be able to have a milk bank in New York, in the Bronx, right? And not just in New York City. We'd also love to have childcare, right? It takes the village, and what we don't want is, you took our workshop, here's a box of diapers, so long, have a nice life. We don't want that. We want continual relationships. We want the people who participated in our programs to come back to us continually whenever they want help. So one of the things we'd love to do is have a childcare program. One of the doulas we work with, she has a 24-hour childcare program. And we'd love to be able to work with them, right? Because our parents, the families that we work with, they don't necessarily work 9-to-5 jobs. They work on weekends. Sometimes they work several jobs with different shifts. We'd love to be able to support them. That's my mission here today. It is the time where people are asking for parts of the budget to be allocated to certain things, and I'd love for you to keep the Bronx Health Link in mind, our community in mind, our families in mind when you start to develop those budgets. I'm gonna leave it here. Sorry, I do this all the time. And I'll have it open for any questions. I hope you have a bunch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leyro. Any questions from the audience?
Hold on.
Good morning. Ooh, sorry. Good morning, and thank you for this presentation. For the milk bank, does Bronx Health Link have locations cited? Is this something you're like early in the ideation phase?
Yeah, this is the ideation phase. This is like dream big. What would we love to do? What do we need? And that's kind of like our future planning. Yeah.
Second question, for the internships, I heard you mention one specific major, like, is there openness to other majors? What is your application process? And is it only in the spring, or is it spring, summer, and fall?
Every semester. We started the program this past summer, and our first interns were from John Jay, and they're criminal justice majors, right? So we are open to anyone who's willing to want to work with an organization such as ours that does a lot of community outreach and focuses on maternal health.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Good morning. I don't so much have a question, but I would like to just thank you for doing this type of work, because for me, especially when it comes down to postpartum depression, it has gone, overlooked for so many years. And it is so important that we address that postpartum depression. I had a couple of friends within the last 10 years that had babies, and one of my friends cried for 3 years every day. And I was like, girl, you got to go to the doctor. That's postpartum depression. And she went to a therapist, but it was like sporadic. But every day for 3 years, you cry every morning? Like, that's serious. And then I had another friend, like, she just couldn't get it together. Actually, it's not funny. Her husband left her because she just couldn't get it together after having a baby. But it was all postpartum depression. And it's scary because you think that it might only last 6 weeks or something like that. No, it all depends on the person. So this is so important, and I really thank you, because, some women, they think they're crazy, and they're not. Their hormones are crazy at this point, but they're not literally crazy, and they just need some assistance, some guidance. They need resources, and that's what you're providing. And I thank you for doing the work that you do. It's really appreciated on my end, and I'm sure the women that suffer really appreciate it as well. So thank you.
And thank you for sharing. And one thing I do want to say is every single one of us, I would challenge you not to say that you are not 1 or 2 degrees separated from someone who has given birth and has either experienced postpartum depression or some type of maternal morbidity, right? I mean, my mom, when she gave birth to my sister, she almost died during birth. And my niece also had problems when she gave birth, right? Everyone in this room, I know you are 1 or 2 degrees separated from someone who's had a challenge. You know of someone, you're related to someone, or you know someone who has. So we are all invested. We should all really be invested in this.
There's a question. Oh, over there.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks again for the presentation. I don't have a question. I just wanted to highlight on the note of the milk bank that Councilmember Farias has introduced a bill to create a municipal milk bank in the city of New York. It's intro 167, so I just wanted to put it out there for everyone here. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
And Brown. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. Can you drill down a little bit on what doula certification is? Do you help people with career planning and entry into the profession? That's one. And to what extent are you involved in advocacy around Medicaid and health insurance reform to help people with benefits?
Thank you for asking that, because that's one of the things I failed to mention. Is one of the things we want to do in scaling our programming is to have a doula training initiative. I will tell you that many birthing persons who have experienced either mortality or some type of morbidity or bad experiences in a hospital, for their next birth, they don't want to go to the hospital, or sometimes they feel so invested, they want to be a doula, or they want more birthing training. And so that's one of the things that we want to do, is have a doula training initiative. We have fabulous collectives that we work with who do mentoring and have experience with training, and in developing, we would work with them to do that. And it does become kind of like a workforce development as well, right? You're training them not just to know about birthing and helping birthing people, but also you're training them in a career. So that's helpful. And I forget what your other question was?
So do I.
You too? Okay. It wasn't important. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, right, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Medicaid. So,
I
yeah,
need
so
different services.
Our
Yeah.
clinical director, Anastasia Leibovich, she actually used to work for the WIC program, and she has fabulous experience, and she is very much interested in the Medicaid expansion application, and she's working on that. She's my co-pilot, and she's very interested and invested in that. So that's forthcoming as well. But she could speak more to that, but she's not here. Hi, she's probably watching. Yes. Oh, I think she was.
Good morning. I've noticed within the Bronx, more and more places are accessible for mothers that are feeding their children. I know the precinct now has a room in the female locker room.
Lactation rooms,
Where
yeah.
they can, yes, lactation rooms. Yankee Stadium has them, and they've been expanding them more. Is that something that you guys are looking to do? Because I know a lot of the mothers that are unable to feed their children are because they're working, and their working environment may not be friendly to them preparing milk for the child, and if they don't have where to put it and stuff like that. Are you guys looking to enhance that?
We also have a lactation room in our offices at the Bronx Borough President's location as well. From an advocacy perspective, we absolutely support lactation rooms, and we support any initiative that wants to make it maybe mandatory, whatever that might be. I will tell you that any event that we host or that we give, it has to be an accessible location, and we always encourage the space to provide a lactation area as well.
We have a question over here. Thanks.
Good morning. How do you secure items that you give away at various events, Pampers, and can the community help in any way?
So it is through our funding. It's a line item in a lot of our funding, Pampers, breast pumps, diaper bags, et cetera. But we also take donations. But most of the items that we provide, we purchase, and we're able to purchase it because of the funding we receive. We specifically ask for funding for those items.
I think on that question, can you expand a little bit on the makeup of your current budget for the Bronx Health Link?
So right now, we have discretionary funding from New York City with the support of Althea Stevens, who has supported us throughout, and it started with Vanessa Gibson when she was a New York City council person. So we have New York City funding, discretionary funding, and then we also have some state funding. We also have funding for the workshops through the DOH. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have two questions. One is,
Can I just say one thing? Althea Stevens has been giving us the funding. It started with Vanessa Gibson, but it should not only be, right, because one of the things, and I don't know why I skipped through it, but we are serving the entire Bronx. Every single zip code, I have a map in my office where I mark all of the zip codes where we are servicing people, and every zip code, every district is being serviced. And this is why I'm here to implore, right, every person on the council from the Bronx delegation to also contribute, because we are serving we're trying to serve every section of the Bronx. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, sorry.
that was actually the answer to one of my questions. I had a question regarding your catchment area. And the second question I have is, how can someone stay up to date with all the services that you provide? It's your Instagram page the
Yeah.
best way?
Well, we have a mailing list. So if you go to our website, you can sign up for our mailing list, and we send out weekly updates every Monday about all of the services that we provide, but also all of the organizations that we collaborate with. Sometimes we'll have an organization that says, we have an upcoming event, can you please spread it? And we put it out every single week. So if you go to our website, bronxhealthlink.org, because I messed this up, that was supposed to be the last slide, but you go to our website, you can sign up for our mailing list. But we do have a social media presence. Our Instagram is Bronx Health Link. We're on LinkedIn as well, and we're on Twitter.
And we'll make sure to update the presentation with
Yes.
the website so that we'll share with the larger board as well. so everyone has access to it. Any other questions, comments? Well, thank you so much, Dr. Leyro, for bringing us this wonderful presentation, super informative. And I just want to say, the robust internship program that the Bronx Health Link hosts is just amazing. It's super diverse. It's not just folks that identify as women that intern there. Folks that identify as male also intern there as well. So this is a community-wide commitment. And so I tip my hat off to you at the Bronx Health Link for having such a robust internship program, but also the work that you do is so necessary and so pivotal for our thriving, healthy community. So thank you so much. So now we will move on to the second item on our agenda, calling on the vote of the Bronx Borough Board Budget Priority Report for fiscal year 2025. For context, the mayor released his preliminary budget in January 2024, and we have been monitoring the potential impacts on services in our borough. In accordance to the charter mandates, we held a public hearing on the preliminary budget on February 26th, and our office has been diligently working on the budget priorities report that you have before you. This report includes testimony presented at the public hearing, the top 10 capital requests, and the top 5 expense requests made by our community boards. The draft report was shared with you all before this meeting to allow time to review and provide recommendations, and our office has included the feedback received. At this time, I would like to hand it over to our Director of Capital Programs, Betty McCray, who will provide an overview of the report and answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I know it was raining. A lot was going on this weekend. It was kind of tough. But today we're going to do an overview of Mayor Adams' preliminary budget report. On January 16th, 2024, he released a $109.4 billion preliminary budget for the city for fiscal year 2025. The city preliminary budget includes $8.2 billion in reserves as well as $1.767 billion in PEGs. And as you go through the report, thank you. As you had the opportunity, hopefully, to review the report that was sent to you twice. We sent it to you that Monday, and then again once we received revisions on last week, Thursday or Friday, I believe it was. So one of the things that I really want to talk about today is a lot of the restorations that he had restored back to the budget. We know a lot was taken away, so hopefully we can discuss the restoration of some of them. One of them, which includes $265 million to public transportation, pupil transportation, $80 million for summarizing. The restoration of $10 million in fiscal year 2024's budget for the community schools. However, the $8 million baseline reduction from the out years, that remained the same since the November budget that he did. The restoration of almost $25 million to the Parks Job Training Program, and almost $4 million to the sanitation, cleaning the streets program, and the restoration of the litter baskets. And we also have the restoration of funding for the uniform services so we can get our police academy class in April 2024. That's good news, correct? Mm-hmm. Correct. That's good news. We're happy about that. If nothing else, but there are also concerns that we may have as you went through the report. Some of them dealing with the CUNYs. We know that our institutions in the Bronx are a pivotal role, and our students. Not only their academic, but also their community service and their degrees and what they need to bring economy to our borough. The schools, we need our pre-K and pre-K3 programs back in. The cuts to the cultural affairs, hopefully we can get that money restored and put back into our budget. It's just a couple of things that I just wanted to point out. Not a lot. The DOP, our inspectors headcount, which continues to be a concern, and also our housing. So hopefully those are some of the pivotal things that we can get the mayor to restore, and also libraries. We want our funding back to our libraries so that we won't lose another day, because we lost one day so far, we don't need to lose 2 days. And, those are our gateways into the community, and a lot of people use the libraries, believe it or not, and their numbers are very high nowadays. We met with the libraries and they gave us an overview on the increase, not only in just the membership, but also people going into the libraries, because you can do membership online and never walk into a library. But a lot of them have been walking back into the libraries. And so hopefully, we touched on a lot of things. I was quick about it. I want to keep you out here too long, so I was quick about it. So hopefully we can vote on our budget. If you have any questions or concerns, we did open it up to get feedback, and we do that so that way we'll have whatever you wanted to change in the report ahead of time, and that's why we send the revision out. We got a lot of feedback from several offices, not as much as we expected, so we hope everybody was okay with it. And like the deputy already said, when we also add what you put into, what you gave to the mayor in your statement of needs that you submitted, I believe it was in October or November, if I'm not mistaken. So that's also added in here as well. So you'll always be a part of our report. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for hopefully reviewing this report and taking it seriously and reading into it and giving us any additional feedbacks that you may have.
Any questions?
Should I get a mic?
It's coming.
Hi, it was a really good report. I just wanted to just highlight just two things in regards to Department of Housing and Preservation. NYCHA has a rehab program that $11.3 million was cut, and they said there was like a swap from capital funds, but it's not clear where the swap was, and I just wanted some clarification if we had some about that. And then just the second thing was in regards to youth and community development. There was a $5.3 million cut for Office of Neighborhood Safeties, which, we just want to say that's really concerning for us. And then $19.3 million from the Summer Rising program, which is also funded by DOE and them. And I just wanted to highlight that.
I believe that the Summer Rising, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that funding has been restored to $80 million for fiscal year 2025. So they did restore $80 million back to the Summer Rising program. So that's a good thing as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
They restored it to the DOE, but for middle school, instead of closing at 6, they close at 2 now, because Department of Children, Youth and Community Development funds the after-school portion of it. So we know that when the youth have nothing to do in the summer, that is a big problem for us. And so that 19.3 cut from that department means they are closed early, and District 75 children are also going to be closed early. And that can be a quality of life issue for us, especially if you got rid of the Office of Department of Neighborhood Safety, which does the preventative crime programming. So I just wanted to highlight those two.
Thank you so much for that, because we can also add that to as part of the recommendation. Yeah. And then we'll resubmit it. It's an amendment, so we'll add it as an amendment to the report and send that back out, so you'll know that that's been added to the report as well. Okay? And I'll find out more information about the swap for NYCHA, because I'm not really too sure about what that is either. But we'll find out what that is. Yeah. We will. Because we don't know if they're swapping funds or whether the funding is being swapped and taken from one place and put it in something else.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a housing and buildings prelim budget hearing today at 1, so I can elevate that to my member, the chair of HMB.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? So we can call on over the line.
Yes.
Wonderful. So, at this moment, I'm asking for a motion for the vote on the Bronx Borough Board Budget Priority Report for fiscal year 2025 with the amendments discussed here, today. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion to vote on the budget priorities.
Can I have a second? Wonderful. So at this moment, I'll do roll call. Community Board 1,
Yes.
Community Board 2,
Yes.
Community Board 3,
Yes.
Community Board 4, Community Board 5,
Yes.
Community Board 6, Community Board 7,
Yes.
Community Board 8,
Yes.
Community Board 9, Community Board 10,
Yes.
Community Board 11, Community Board 12.
Yes.
Moving on to City Council representatives. Councilmember Diana Ayala,
Councilmember Ayala votes yes.
Councilmember Eric Dinowitz, Councilmember Kevin Riley,
Councilmember Riley will be abstaining.
Councilmember Chrissy Marmorato.
Councilmember Marmorato votes yes.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Pierina Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Oswald Feliz,
Councilmember Feliz abstains.
Councilmember Althea Stevens, Councilmember Rafael Salamanca,
Councilmember Salamanca votes to abstain.
Councilmember Amanda Farias,
Councilmember Farias votes yes and would like to draw critical attention to requests from the following nonprofits, including BCC, Postos, Lehman, NYPL, and Jacoby, from the following groups. Sure. She'd like to draw critical attention to the request from BCC, NYPL, NYBG, Postos, Jacoby, and Lehman.
and Borough President votes yes. We have
13 yes and 4 abstain.
So with that, the vote passes
With the amendments.
with the amendments. So thank you all for providing your input and voting on this report today. The amendment will be added to the report, and that is to be submitted to the mayor's office by March 15th. Yeah, with that?
Yes.
We're done.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Before we move on to announcements, any announcements from our community board, city agencies, council members? It's a Monday, it's tough, I know. We lost an hour. We'll get you out quickly, I promise. So at this time, I just want to share some of, we'll like to extend an invitation to some of our upcoming events for the month of March. We know that we are celebrating Women's History Month. So our Women's History Month celebration will take place on March 20th. We have flyers here, but we will also share broadly, as well as our Irish Heritage celebration that will be hosted on March 27th. We also have flyers for that as well. Lastly, our next Borough Board meeting is scheduled for April 15th. If there are any changes, Marisol will make you aware of those. We'll also share the presentation from the Bronx Health Link from this morning. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Leyro, for such an amazing presentation and such critical services. And with that, thank you all, and we'll close this meeting of the Bronx Borough Board. Thank you. Be well, everyone.
Thank you.